Have you ever watched a squirrel dart across your yard and wondered what it's actually thinking? What drives that frantic energy, that constant need to move, to search, to survive? Tonight we're going to step into a world most of us never consider. The hidden reality of life as a squirrel. Sometimes the smallest creatures live the most intense lives. It's time to dim the lights, grab something comfortable, and discover what it truly means to exist in a body built for survival. The morning doesn't begin with an alarm clock. It starts with the first hint of gray light filtering through the canopy, a signal that sends electricity through a nervous system designed for perpetual alertness. Your eyes open, not gradually like a human emerging from sleep, but instantly, completely aware. This is survival. There's no snooze button in nature. Your world is measured in heartbeats, and right now yours is racing at 300 beats per minute. For comparison, a resting human heart beats around 70 times per minute. You live in fast forward, every second stretched thin with urgency. Your body weighs less than a pound, but it contains more concentrated energy than most creatures 10 times your size. The first sensation isn't sight or sound, it's smell. Your nose twitches, processing a symphony of scents that would overwhelm any human. The musty dampness of decaying leaves beneath the oak tree, the sharp metallic scent of dew on grass, the faint but unmistakable marker of a rival squirrel who passed through your territory 3 hours ago. And something else, something that makes your tail flick with nervous tension. A cat, not close but not far enough away either. You're perched 15 feet above the ground in what humans might call a nest, but you know better. This is your dray, a carefully constructed ball of twigs, leaves, and soft moss that you've woven together with the precision of an architect. It's not just shelter, it's fortress, nursery, and sanctuary, all rolled into one. Every stick was chosen, every leaf positioned with purpose. This isn't random animal behavior. This is engineering. Your paws, no bigger than a human thumb, are marvels of evolution. 4 toes on the front feet, 5 on the back, each equipped with curved claws sharp enough to grip bark, delicate enough to handle the smallest seed. Right now, those claws are your lifeline, literally. They're what keep you anchored to this branch as you survey your domain. The territory you call home spans roughly 2 acres, but you know every inch of it with the intensity of a general studying a battlefield. That oak tree with the hollow trunk where you've buried 14 acorns, the maple with the loose bark that hides your backup stash of sunflower seeds. The pine tree where the blue jays built their nest last spring and where you learned to avoid their dive-bombing attacks. This isn't just geography, it's your survival map. But territory in the squirrel world isn't permanent. It's earned daily, defended constantly, and lost the moment you show weakness. That scent marker you detected earlier, it's a challenge. Another squirrel, probably a young male, testing the boundaries of what you've claimed as yours. In human terms, it's like finding graffiti on your front door. It demands a response. Your tail, that magnificent plume that makes up nearly half your body length, isn't just for show. It's communication device, balance beam, and thermal regulator all in one. Right now, it's telling you something's wrong. The way it's twitching, the hair standing slightly on end, these are signals your body is sending before your conscious mind has processed the threat. You descend the tree headfirst, a feat that would send most mammals tumbling to their death, but your ankles can rotate 180 degrees, allowing your hind feet to grip the bark even as your head points toward the ground. It's like being able to walk downstairs while doing a handstand. Effortless for you, impossible for almost everything else. The forest floor is a different world entirely. Up in the canopy, you're the master of your domain. Down here, you're prey. Your ears, proportionally massive compared to your body, swivel independently as you process the acoustic landscape. The rustle of leaves that might be wind, or might be a snake. The distant call of a hawk that could be hunting or just passing through. The rhythmic thudding that means a human is approaching, still 50 yards away but closing. Every step is calculated. Your feet barely disturb the carpet of fallen leaves, a skill that took months to master as a juvenile. Noise means death in your world. Silence means survival. You move in short bursts, freezing completely every few seconds to reassess your surroundings. To a watching human, it might look like nervous energy. To you, it's systematic intelligence gathering. The acorn you buried yesterday beneath the rosebush should still be there. But memory in your world isn't just about location. It's about risk assessment. Was this hiding spot chosen well? Has the ground been disturbed? Are there signs that another squirrel has discovered your cache? You approach the spot with the caution of a bomb disposal expert, because in your world, a stolen acorn could mean the difference between surviving winter and starving. Your memory isn't just good, it's extraordinary. You can remember the location of thousands of buried nuts organized in your mind by season, quality, and accessibility. Scientists call it scatter hoarding, but you know it as insurance. Every buried acorn is a bet against future hunger, a hedge against the uncertainty that defines your existence. The ground beneath the rosebush is undisturbed. You dig with focused intensity, your claws working like tiny shovels. 3 inches down, you find it. The acorn is perfect, untouched by rot or insects. You cradle it in your paws, examining it with the attention of a jeweler appraising a diamond. This single nut contains enough calories to fuel your hyperactive metabolism for hours. But eating it now would be wasteful. Your body is designed for feast or famine, and right now, with autumn approaching, every calorie needs to be stored or strategically consumed. You make a decision that would seem impossible to most humans. You rebury the acorn, adding it to your mental inventory of winter reserves. Self-control in your world isn't about willpower. It's about survival mathematics. A shadow passes overhead, and every fiber of your being freezes. Hawks cast shadows. So do eagles. So do owls, though they hunt primarily at night. Your eyes, positioned on the sides of your head, give you nearly 360-degree vision. You can see the sky, the ground, and everything in between without moving your head. Right now, that evolutionary advantage is the only thing standing between you and becoming someone else's lunch. The shadow passes, just a cloud, but your heart rate, already elevated, spikes even higher. 400 beats per minute now. Your body is flooded with adrenaline, a chemical cocktail that sharpens your senses and primes your muscles for explosive action. You could leap 20 feet horizontally from a standing start if necessary. You could climb a vertical tree trunk at 15 miles per hour. You could change direction mid-air while jumping between branches. These aren't party tricks. They're survival tools, honed by millions of years of evolution and refined by a lifetime of practice. Every squirrel who couldn't perform these feats died before reproducing. You exist because your ancestors were the fastest, the most agile, the most paranoid. Paranoia in your world is a virtue. The morning hunt continues. You're not just looking for food. You're gathering intelligence about your territory, monitoring the competition, and assessing threats. That pile of disturbed leaves near the bird feeder means the neighbor's cat has been hunting here. The fresh scratches on the utility pole indicate another squirrel has been marking territory. The scattered sunflower seed shells beneath the oak tree suggest the blue jays have been feeding, which means they're still nesting nearby, which means their aggressive protective behavior will continue for weeks. Your brain processes this information with the efficiency of a computer, but it's not cold calculation. It's survival instinct refined into art. You don't just react to your environment. You anticipate it, manipulate it, and adapt to it with the flexibility that would impress any military strategist. The sun climbs higher, and with it comes both opportunity and danger. More light means better visibility for foraging, but it also means you're more visible to predators. The warming air brings out insects, a valuable protein source, but it also increases activity among competitors. Every advantage in your world comes with a corresponding risk. You spot movement in your peripheral vision. Another squirrel, a juvenile by the look of it, is approaching one of your buried caches. This is the moment every territory holder dreads. Confrontation is dangerous, but allowing theft is potentially fatal. Your tail begins to twitch with aggressive intent. The decision happens in milliseconds, but the consequences will ripple through your day. You could retreat, find another cache, avoid the confrontation entirely, but every retreat signals weakness, and weakness in the squirrel world is a death sentence delivered slowly. Territory lost is rarely regained without violence. You advance with deliberate aggression, your body language shifting from cautious forager to territorial defender. Your tail fluffs to twice its normal size, a display designed to make you appear larger and more intimidating. Your back arches slightly, and you begin the chattering call that serves as both warning and declaration of intent. To human ears, it might sound like angry chittering. To another squirrel, it's a very clear message. Leave now or face the consequences. The juvenile freezes, then begins its own defensive display. Younger squirrels often mistake bravado for courage, inexperience for fearlessness. This one is no different. It mirrors your aggressive posture, tail fluffed, back arched, chattering its own challenge. What it lacks in size and experience, it's trying to compensate for with volume and attitude. The standoff lasts exactly 4 seconds. Then you move. Your charge isn't random aggression. It's tactical warfare compressed into a burst of movement so fast that human eyes would struggle to track it. You leap forward, then veer left at the last moment, using your superior agility to circle behind the intruder. The juvenile, caught off guard by your speed, stumbles as it tries to turn and face you. Physical contact in squirrel conflicts is brief but decisive. You land a glancing blow with your claws. Not enough to cause serious injury, but enough to establish dominance. The juvenile squeaks in surprise and pain, then bolts for the nearest tree. You chase it for 20 yards, not to catch it, but to ensure it understands the boundaries of your territory. The entire confrontation lasted less than 30 seconds, but it drained significant energy reserves. Your heart rate is now approaching 500 beats per minute, the upper limit of what your cardiovascular system can sustain. Your breathing is rapid and shallow, your muscles flooded with metabolic byproducts that will take precious time to clear. This is the hidden cost of territorial defense. Every challenge requires a response, and every response depletes resources you can't afford to waste. But the alternative, allowing your territory to be overrun, would be far more costly. In your world, respect isn't earned through kindness or cooperation. It's earned through the consistent willingness to fight for what you've claimed. You return to your cache, now doubly important after being challenged. The acorn is still there, undisturbed, but you no longer trust its hiding spot. Too exposed, too easily discovered. You dig it up again, cradle it briefly, then begin the search for a better location. Every burial site is a decision between accessibility and security, between convenience and safety. The new spot you choose is beneath a dense cluster of ferns, partially hidden by an overhanging root. You dig with methodical precision, creating a hole exactly the right depth and width. Too shallow and the acorn might be discovered by other foragers. Too deep and you might not be able to retrieve it when the ground freezes. The mathematics of survival are precise and unforgiving. As you work, your ears continuously monitor your surroundings. The distant rumble of a lawnmower means human activity, which typically drives away most predators but can be dangerous in its own right. The sharp call of a blue jay might be territorial display, or might be a warning about a hawk or cat. The rustling of leaves could be wind, or it could be another squirrel, or it could be something much more dangerous. Your nose provides additional intelligence. The scent of fresh-cut grass mixed with gasoline from the lawnmower, the floral perfume of late blooming flowers, the musky odor of a dog that passed through earlier, though not recently enough to be an immediate threat, and underneath it all, the complex bouquet of forest floor decomposition, a smell that speaks of seasons changing and winter approaching. Winter. The word doesn't exist in your vocabulary, but the concept dominates your existence. Every action, every decision, every buried nut is preparation for the months when food becomes scarce and survival becomes a daily struggle against starvation and cold. Your body is already beginning to change, adding fat reserves and growing thicker fur. These adaptations happen automatically, triggered by shortening daylight and dropping temperatures. The acorn safely buried, you begin the next phase of your morning routine. Grooming isn't vanity in your world, it's maintenance. Your fur needs to be clean and properly aligned to provide maximum insulation. Your claws need to be sharp and debris-free for climbing. Your teeth, which grow continuously throughout your life, need to be kept at the proper length and sharpness through constant use. You begin with your face, using your front paws to clean around your eyes and nose. Your tongue, surprisingly long and dexterous, helps clean areas your paws can't reach. Then you work your way down your body, using your teeth to remove tangles and debris from your fur. The process takes nearly 10 minutes, time that could be spent foraging, but that's essential for maintaining your survival equipment. A sudden noise freezes you mid-grooming. Footsteps, human footsteps, but moving with unusual stealth. Your experience with humans tells you this is abnormal. Most humans walk with heavy, predictable steps, making no effort to mask their approach. This human is trying to be quiet, which means they're either hunting or stalking. Your position on the ground suddenly feels exposed and vulnerable. You need height, need the security of branches and escape routes. The nearest tree is an old maple, its trunk scarred by years of squirrel claws and dotted with holes where woodpeckers have searched for insects. You reach it in 3 bounds, your powerful hind legs launching you across gaps that would challenge most mammals. The climb is effortless, your claws finding purchase on bark that would be too smooth for human hands. You spiral up the trunk, using your tail for balance and your flexible spine to navigate around obstacles. 15 feet up, you pause on a branch thick enough to support your weight, but thin enough to discourage larger predators. From this vantage point, you can see the source of the footsteps, a human with a camera, moving slowly through the underbrush, clearly trying to photograph wildlife. Not a direct threat, but humans with cameras often attract other humans, and crowds of humans can disrupt feeding patterns and territorial boundaries for days. Your assessment is interrupted by a new sound. The distinctive chittering call of a female squirrel, but with an unusual urgency. This isn't territorial display or casual communication. This is distress. Your body responds before your mind has fully processed the implications. Muscles tense, heart rate increases, attention focuses with laser intensity. The sound is coming from the direction of the old oak tree, the one with the hollow trunk where you've cached some of your most important food reserves. If there's a threat near that location, it's not just another squirrel in distress. It's a direct challenge to your survival resources. You descend the maple with controlled haste, your claws finding purchase with automatic precision. The ground feels different beneath your feet now, charged with tension and possibility. Your movement changes from the careful, energy-conserving gait of routine foraging to the focused, explosive readiness of emergency response. The scent hits you before you see the source. Snake. Not just any snake, but a rat snake, large enough to be a serious threat to adult squirrels, and deadly to juveniles. Your fur stands on end, not from fear, but from the primitive recognition of a predator that has shaped your species for millions of years. The female squirrel's distress calls are coming from directly above the snake's location. She's trapped, probably with young nearby, unable to flee without abandoning her offspring. In the complex social structure of squirrel society, you have no obligation to help. Her territory isn't your responsibility. Her survival isn't your concern. But something deeper than territorial calculation is driving your response. Perhaps it's the recognition that a snake successful in hunting squirrels will remain in the area, eventually threatening your own survival. Perhaps it's the evolutionary programming that encourages cooperation in the face of common threats. Or perhaps it's something more complex, something that human observers might mistake for altruism, but that you know simply as the right action in this moment. You begin to climb the oak tree, moving with deliberate speed toward the source of the distress calls. Your approach isn't reckless, every movement is calculated, every handhold tested, but there's an urgency to your actions that wasn't there during routine foraging. This is crisis response, and crisis response requires different rules. The female squirrel sees you coming and her calls shift in tone. Still distressed, but now with a note of hope. She's young, probably in her first year of independence, and her inexperience shows in her positioning. She's trapped herself on a branch directly above the snake, with no escape route that doesn't involve passing within striking distance. The snake is impressive, nearly 4 feet long and thick as a human wrist. Its scales gleam in the dappled sunlight, and its head weaves slowly as it tracks the movement above. Rat snakes are skilled climbers, but they're not built for the delicate branch work that defines squirrel territory. This gives you an advantage, but it's an advantage that requires precise execution to exploit. Your plan forms in the seconds it takes to reach the same level as the trapped female. Distraction and misdirection, the same tactics that work against hawks and cats. You position yourself on a parallel branch, just within the snake's peripheral vision, and begin the aggressive display that signals territorial challenge. The snake's head turns toward you, its attention dividing between two potential targets. This is the moment of maximum danger. A snake's strike is faster than human reflexes can track, faster than most animals can avoid. Your survival depends on reading the subtle signs that precede an attack and being somewhere else when it happens. You see the coiling, the slight shift in muscle tension that precedes a strike. Your response is instantaneous, a sideways leap that carries you to an adjacent branch, just as the snake's head snaps toward where you were a fraction of a second earlier. The miss costs the snake its carefully maintained position, and it has to readjust its grip on the branch. This brief moment of snake vulnerability is all the opening the female needs. She bolts from her trapped position, taking a route that would have been impossible, while the snake's attention was focused on her. She disappears into the canopy with the speed of panic, her distress calls fading as distance increases. The snake, now frustrated and more dangerous than before, turns its full attention to you. You're no longer helping another squirrel. You're fighting for your own survival against a predator that has just been reminded of its hunger. The snake's eyes lock onto yours with the cold calculation of a predator that has just been denied an easy meal. Your heart hammers against your ribs at nearly 600 beats per minute, the absolute threshold of what your cardiovascular system can endure without failure. Every muscle fiber in your body is flooded with adrenaline, transforming you into a living weapon of speed and reflex. This is no longer about territory or food caches. This is about the fundamental equation that governs every moment of your existence: survive or become food. The snake represents 4 feet of muscle and fang, evolved specifically to kill creatures like you, but you represent millions of years of evolutionary refinement, a nervous system calibrated for exactly this kind of encounter. The branch beneath your feet is barely thicker than your body, swaying gently in the breeze. For the snake, this instability is a disadvantage. Its weight distribution requires solid support, and the flexible wood beneath its coils forces it to constantly readjust its grip. For you, instability is opportunity. You've spent your entire life navigating surfaces that would challenge a tightrope walker. The snake begins to move, its body flowing like liquid muscle across the branch. Its approach is methodical, patient, conserving energy for the explosive strike that will end this confrontation. You match its patience with hypervigilance, every sense calibrated to detect the microscopic changes that precede an attack. The slight compression of coils, the infinitesimal shift in head position, the barely perceptible pause that signals imminent violence. Your tail, that magnificent plume of fur and nerve endings, twitches with information your conscious mind hasn't yet processed. Air pressure changes, subtle vibrations in the branch, the almost imperceptible sound of scales against bark. Your body is reading the environment with an accuracy that would shame the most sophisticated sensors. The strike comes without warning, faster than conscious thought, faster than deliberate reaction. But your response isn't conscious or deliberate. It's pure reflex, encoded in neural pathways shaped by countless generations of ancestors who faced this exact scenario. You twist sideways, your flexible spine allowing movement that would break the back of most mammals. The snake's head passes through empty air where your body was a millisecond earlier. The mist throws the snake off balance, and for a crucial moment, it's vulnerable. You could flee now, use this opportunity to escape to a different tree, a different part of your territory. But flight has its own risks. A snake that has learned to hunt in your territory will return, and next time you might not have the advantage of surprise and positioning. Instead, you attack, not with the mindless aggression of a cornered animal, but with the calculated precision of a predator that has momentarily become the hunter. Your claws rake across the snake's head, not deep enough to cause serious injury, but enough to communicate a message. You are not helpless prey. The snake recoils, more surprised than hurt. In its predatory calculations, squirrels are supposed to flee or freeze, not fight back. This aggressive response doesn't fit its behavioral programming, and the confusion cost it precious seconds of reaction time. You press your advantage, chattering loudly as you circle to the snake's blind side. The sound serves multiple purposes. It's a threat display designed to make you seem larger and more dangerous than your actual size. It's a distress call, potentially attracting other squirrels who might assist in driving off the threat. And it's psychological warfare, the kind of auditory assault that can break the concentration of a predator accustomed to hunting in silence. The snake's head swivels, trying to track your movement, but you're using the three-dimensional nature of the canopy to your advantage. While it's restricted to the linear path of the branch, you can move above, below, and around it with equal facility. You leap to a parallel branch, forcing the snake to completely reorient its position. This is the moment when the encounter shifts from life or death struggle to territorial dominance. The snake, faced with a prey animal that refuses to behave like prey, begins to recalculate the cost-benefit analysis of this hunt. Every predator operates on energy economics. The calories gained from a successful hunt must exceed the calories spent in pursuit, or the predator will eventually starve. Your aggressive display is making this hunt expensive. The snake is burning energy maintaining its position on unstable branches, energy that could be better spent hunting easier prey. You can see the calculation happening in its cold reptilian brain. The slight relaxation of its coils. The decreased intensity of its focus. The almost imperceptible shift from attack mode to assessment mode. But you don't relax. Experience has taught you that predators can switch from retreat to attack in an instant if they sense weakness. You maintain your aggressive posture, tail fluffed, claws extended, chattering your challenge into the morning air. Every fiber of your being projects the message that you are not worth the effort. The snake makes its decision. It begins to withdraw, moving with the same fluid grace it displayed during its approach, but now in reverse. Its retreat is dignified, unhurried, the movement of a predator that has simply decided to hunt elsewhere. But you know better. This is defeat disguised as choice. You don't pursue. Chasing a retreating predator would be wasteful and dangerous. Instead, you maintain your position, watching as the snake flows down the trunk and disappears into the undergrowth. Only when it's completely out of sight do you allow yourself to relax slightly, though your heart rate remains elevated and your senses stay sharp. The female squirrel reappears, cautiously approaching from the safety of a distant branch. Her earlier panic has been replaced by curiosity and what might be gratitude, though such emotions are difficult to interpret in the complex social dynamics of squirrel society. She chatters softly, a sound that lacks the urgency of distress or the aggression of territorial display. You respond with a brief acknowledgement, a chittering call that confirms the threat has passed without claiming credit for its resolution. In squirrel society, assistance is noted but not celebrated. Survival is a personal responsibility, and those who require help are marked as weak, regardless of the circumstances that created their vulnerability. The encounter has cost you precious energy and time, resources you can't afford to waste with winter approaching. But it has also reinforced your territorial dominance and potentially eliminated a threat that could have plagued your territory for weeks. The mathematics of survival are complex, and sometimes the most expensive actions in the short term prove to be the most economical in the long run. You return to your morning routine, but the encounter has changed your priorities. The snake's presence indicates that your territory is being scouted by predators, which means your usual foraging patterns may no longer be safe. You need to reassess your cached food locations, your travel routes, your emergency escape plans. The acorn you buried earlier now seems inadequately protected. The location you chose, while hidden from other squirrels, might be too exposed to predators hunting from the ground. You dig it up for the third time today, each relocation representing a balance between security and accessibility that grows more complex with each threat assessment. The new location is 20 feet up in a hollow formed by the intersection of 3 major branches. It's nearly impossible to reach except by squirrel, but it's also difficult for you to access quickly in an emergency. Every decision in your world involves trade-offs, and the optimal choice depends on circumstances that change hourly. As you work, your mind processes the morning's events with the analytical precision of a military commander reviewing a battle. The snake's hunting pattern suggested it was new to the area, probably displaced from its usual territory by human activity or competition from other predators. Its size indicated it was well fed and successful, which meant it would likely remain in the area until hunting became more difficult. This analysis drives your next decision. You need to alert other squirrels in the area, not out of altruism, but out of self-interest. A snake that learns to hunt squirrels successfully will continue hunting squirrels, and eventually that hunting will impact your own survival. Better to make the area inhospitable to the predator before it becomes established. Your warning calls are different from your earlier territorial challenges. These are informational, designed to spread news rather than claim dominance. The message is simple but vital. Large snake, active hunter, ground in low branches, morning hours. Other squirrels will decode this information and adjust their behavior accordingly. The response is immediate, answering calls from different directions, each squirrel adding its own observations to the growing intelligence network. A juvenile reports unusual movement near the creek. An adult female confirms suspicious scent markers along the eastern boundary. An elderly male recalls similar predator sign from 3 days ago. This is squirrel society at its most sophisticated. No central authority, no formal organization, just individuals sharing information that benefits everyone's survival. The network that emerges is more effective than any human early warning system, faster than any electronic communication, more accurate than any artificial intelligence. Your contribution to this network enhances your status within the community. Information providers are valued members of squirrel society, their warnings taken seriously and their territorial claims respected. It's a form of social currency that can be more valuable than buried nuts or prime nesting sites. But social status doesn't fill an empty stomach, and the morning's adventures have burned through significant energy reserves. Your body is demanding fuel, and your metabolism won't be satisfied with a single sunflower seed you consumed at dawn. You need protein, fat, and carbohydrates, and you need them soon. The oak tree's acorn crop is reaching peak ripeness, and competition for the best nuts is fierce. Other squirrels have already begun their own harvesting operations, and the prime locations are being claimed through a combination of aggression and persistence. You need to enter this competition, but your recent encounter with the snake has left you at a disadvantage. Your energy reserves are depleted, your reflexes slightly slower than optimal, your attention divided between foraging and threat assessment. In the brutal economics of squirrel survival, these small disadvantages can prove fatal. A competitor who is fresher, faster, or more focused can claim the resources you need to survive. You approach the oak tree with the caution of a reconnaissance mission. The trunk is scarred with fresh claw marks, evidence of multiple squirrels competing for access to the canopy. The ground beneath is littered with acorn caps and shell fragments, the detritus of successful foraging operations. The competition is intense and you're arriving late to the battlefield. Your first challenge comes from an unexpected source. A young female, probably in her first autumn, has claimed a prime foraging branch and is defending it with the desperate aggression of inexperience. She's smaller than you, weaker, clearly outmatched in any direct confrontation, but she's also hungrier, more desperate, and willing to take risks that a more experienced squirrel would avoid. The standoff develops quickly. She chatters her challenge from the security of her branch, tail fluffed to maximum size, claws extended, every inch of her body projecting defiance. You respond with your own display, but your heart isn't entirely in it. The morning's encounter with the snake has reminded you that there are worse things than sharing territory with a desperate juvenile. The resolution comes through compromise rather than combat. You demonstrate your dominance by approaching her branch, but you don't force a direct confrontation. Instead, you select a parallel branch, close enough to assert your presence, but far enough to avoid triggering her defensive response. It's a solution that allows both of you to forage without the energy expenditure of actual combat. The acorns on your chosen branch are smaller than those she's claimed, but they're perfectly adequate for your needs. You work efficiently, testing each nut for ripeness, discarding those that show signs of insect damage or premature aging. Your selection process is based on energy content, storage potential, and digestibility. Each acorn you choose represents a calculated investment in your survival. The work is methodical but not mindless. Your attention remains divided between foraging and surveillance, constantly monitoring for threats and opportunities. The hawk that's been circling the area for the past hour. The domestic cat that's learned to hunt along the forest edge. The human with the camera who's been photographing squirrels all morning. Each potential threat requires a different response strategy. The hawk demands constant vigilance and immediate access to cover. The cat requires knowledge of its hunting patterns and preferred ambush sites. The human needs to be monitored for sudden movements or behavioral changes that might indicate a shift from passive observation to active interference. Your multitasking abilities would impress any human observer, but for you, it's simply the price of survival. A squirrel that can't simultaneously forage, monitor threats, defend territory, and process social information is a squirrel that won't survive to see winter. Evolution has equipped you with the neural architecture to handle this complexity, but it comes at a cost. The cognitive load of constant threat assessment is exhausting. Your brain, proportionally large for your body size, consumes a significant percentage of your total energy budget. The more complex your environment, the more energy you must dedicate to information processing. It's another cruel equation in the mathematics of survival. By mid-morning, you've cached 6 acorns in various locations throughout your territory. Each hiding spot was chosen using criteria that would challenge a professional security consultant. Distance from regular travel routes. Concealment from casual observation. Accessibility under different weather conditions. Protection from other squirrels and ground foraging competitors. The mental map in your head now includes dozens of cache locations, each tagged with information about contents, security level, and seasonal accessibility. This spatial memory system is one of your species' most remarkable adaptations, allowing you to create a distributed food storage network that can sustain you through months of scarcity. But memory, like everything else in your world, comes with risks. A cache location that's too memorable might also be discoverable by competitors. A hiding spot that's too secure might become inaccessible under winter conditions. A food store that's too concentrated might attract predators or represent a single point of failure. The optimization problem is complex enough to challenge supercomputers, but you solve it instinctively, using cognitive algorithms refined by millions of years of evolutionary pressure. Every decision is informed by probability calculations that would impress professional statisticians, yet you make them without conscious mathematical analysis. The sun reaches its zenith, and with it comes a shift in the rhythm of your day. The morning's frantic energy gives way to a more measured pace, though your alertness never diminishes. Midday brings different challenges, different opportunities, different threats. Your body begins to prepare for the afternoon's activities, but first, you need to address a growing concern. The snake encounter has left you with a problem that goes beyond immediate survival. Your territorial boundaries have been tested, your dominance challenged, your resources threatened. In the complex social dynamics of squirrel society, these challenges must be addressed or they will multiply. Other squirrels have noticed your morning's activities. Some have interpreted your assistance to the trapped female as a sign of strength, evidence that you're secure enough in your territory to help others. But others have read it as weakness, proof that you're willing to waste energy on concerns that don't directly benefit your survival. These different interpretations will influence how other squirrels interact with you in the days and weeks ahead. Those who see strength will be more likely to respect your territorial boundaries and share information about threats and opportunities. Those who see weakness will be more likely to test your defenses and challenge your claims. The afternoon will bring new tests, new challenges, new opportunities to demonstrate your fitness for survival. But for now, in the brief calm of midday, you allow yourself a moment of something that might be satisfaction. You've survived the morning's challenges, secured additional resources, and maintained your territorial integrity. In the simple mathematics of squirrel existence, survival is the only victory that matters. Everything else is just preparation for the next challenge, the next threat, the next opportunity to prove that you deserve to see another day. The afternoon sun filters through the canopy, casting shifting patterns of light and shadow across your territory. The day is far from over, and with it will come new tests of your ability to navigate the complex, dangerous, exhilarating world of life as a squirrel. But for this moment, you are alive, alert, and ready for whatever comes next. The afternoon heat brings a different kind of challenge to your world. As temperatures climb, your fur becomes less of an asset and more of a burden. Unlike humans who can remove layers, you're trapped in a coat designed for winter survival. Your body begins the delicate process of thermoregulation, panting lightly through your open mouth, seeking shade when possible, flattening your fur against your skin to reduce insulation. Your tail, that magnificent communication device, now serves as a portable umbrella. You angle it carefully to cast shadow over your back, a technique that provides crucial cooling during the hottest part of the day. The blood vessels in your ears dilate, turning them into radiators that help dissipate excess heat. Every adaptation in your body has multiple purposes, each serving survival in ways that would fascinate human engineers. The forest sounds different in afternoon heat. Bird calls become less frequent as species seek shelter from the sun. Insect activity increases, creating a background hum that masks the subtle sounds you rely on for threat detection. The thermal currents rising from sun-heated ground carry scents differently, making your nose less reliable for gathering intelligence about your surroundings. These changes force you to recalibrate your entire sensory system. What worked perfectly during the cool morning hours now requires adjustment, adaptation, constant fine-tuning. Your survival depends on this flexibility, this ability to modify your behavior as conditions change. Rigid thinking in your world is a luxury that leads to death. A new sound cuts through the afternoon stillness, the distinctive whine of a leaf blower, still distant but approaching. Human activity always brings unpredictability to your carefully ordered world. Leaf blowers mean scattered debris, disrupted scent trails, and the possibility that some of your cached food will be blown from its hiding places. You begin a rapid assessment of your most vulnerable cache sites. The acorn buried beneath the pile of leaves near the garden shed is now at risk. The sunflower seeds hidden in the hollow of the fallen log might be exposed if the debris around them is disturbed. Each potential loss represents hours of foraging time that you can't afford to waste. The decision to relocate caches is never simple. Moving stored food requires energy, creates new vulnerabilities, and takes time away from ongoing foraging activities. But leaving vulnerable stores in place guarantees their loss. It's another calculation in the endless mathematics of survival, another choice where the wrong decision could prove fatal. You begin with the most exposed cache, the one near the garden shed. The acorn is exactly where you left it, but the leaf pile that concealed it has been disturbed by wind and small animals. The hiding spot that seemed secure this morning now feels dangerously exposed. You extract the acorn and begin searching for a better location. The new site you choose is more labor-intensive but significantly more secure. A natural depression in the root system of an old maple, partially covered by a fallen branch and screened by dense ferns. The digging is harder here, the soil packed and root-bound, but the concealment is excellent. No leaf blower will reach this location, and the natural camouflage will remain effective regardless of human activity. As you work, your movements attract attention from an unexpected source. A young gray squirrel, probably a late-season juvenile, is watching your caching operation with obvious interest. This is a problem that goes beyond simple territorial dispute. A squirrel that learns your hiding techniques can apply that knowledge to discovering other caches throughout your territory. The observer is too far away for direct confrontation, but close enough to gather useful intelligence. Your options are limited, and none of them are particularly appealing. You could abandon this cache site and find another, but that would signal weakness and potentially encourage more surveillance. You could interrupt your work to chase off the observer, but that would draw even more attention to your activities. Instead, you choose deception. You complete the burial of your acorn, but you do so in a way that makes the cache appear less secure than it actually is. You deliberately leave more obvious signs of digging, scatter some debris that suggests hasty concealment, and position yourself as if you're satisfied with substandard security, the watching squirrel will remember a cache site that appears easy to raid, not realizing that the real security lies in features it hasn't noticed. This kind of strategic thinking represents the highest level of squirrel intelligence. You're not just solving immediate problems, you're manipulating the information environment to create advantages in future encounters. The cognitive demands are enormous, requiring you to model the mental state of another squirrel and predict its behavior based on deliberately planted false information. The leaf blower grows closer, and with it comes a cascade of disruptions to your carefully ordered world. The machine's noise drowns out the subtle sounds you depend on for threat detection. The artificial wind it creates carries scents in unnatural directions, confusing your olfactory navigation system. The flying debris creates visual chaos that could mask the approach of predators. You retreat to higher ground, seeking a vantage point that will allow you to monitor the human activity while remaining safely out of range. The oak tree's upper branches provide an excellent observation post, though the swaying in the artificial wind makes balance more challenging than usual. Your claws dig deep into the bark, anchoring you against the machine-generated turbulence. From this elevated position, you can see the full scope of the disruption. The human operating the leaf blower moves systematically through the area, creating neat piles of debris that completely reorganize the forest floor. Months of natural accumulation are redistributed in minutes, erasing the familiar landscape markers you use for navigation. The reorganization isn't random. The human has clear objectives, gathering leaves and debris into specific locations for reasons that make sense in human terms but create chaos in squirrel geography. Your mental map of the territory will need significant updating to account for these changes. Cache sites that were concealed by natural debris are now exposed. Travel routes that relied on leaf cover for concealment are now visible to aerial predators. But disruption also creates opportunity. The leaf blower's activity disturbs insects, driving them into the open where they become easy prey. Small seeds and nuts that were buried in the debris are now visible on the surface, available for quick collection. The human systematic approach means you can predict where disturbances will occur and position yourself to take advantage of the opportunities they create. You descend from your observation post and begin following the leaf blower's path, staying well behind the noise and chaos, but close enough to exploit the resources it exposes. This is opportunistic foraging at its finest, turning environmental disruption into survival advantage. Your ancestors who couldn't adapt to human activity didn't survive to reproduce. You exist because flexibility and adaptability are encoded in your genes. The first discovery is a cluster of maple seeds, exposed when their leaf cover was blown away. They're past prime condition but still nutritious, and their location makes them easy to collect without competition from other squirrels. You gather them quickly, stuffing some into your cheek pouches for immediate consumption and burying others in hastily chosen cache sites. The second opportunity is more complex. The leaf blower has exposed a colony of ground-dwelling insects, protein-rich grubs that normally remain hidden beneath the debris. Other animals have noticed this bonanza as well. A pair of blue jays circles overhead, and you can see movement in the underbrush that suggests ground foraging competitors are approaching. The window of opportunity is narrow. The insects won't remain exposed for long, and the arriving competitors will make the area too dangerous for extended foraging. You need to maximize your protein intake while minimizing your exposure to threats. It's a classic optimization problem, the kind that defines every foraging decision in your world. Your approach is methodical but rapid. You select the largest, most accessible grubs first, consuming them immediately to avoid the risk of losing them to competitors. The protein floods your system with essential amino acids, fuel for the muscle maintenance and growth that your hyperactive lifestyle demands. Each grub represents a significant nutritional investment, worth the risk of exposure. The blue jays arrive first, their harsh calls adding to the chaos of the leaf blower's noise. They're not direct competitors for the same insects, but their presence attracts attention from other predators. Hawks often follow jay flocks, using them as scouts to locate concentrations of small prey. Your feeding time is now limited not just by competition, but by the increasing probability of aerial attack. You collect 3 more grubs before the tactical situation becomes too dangerous. The approaching ground competitors, a pair of chipmunks, are small enough to avoid direct confrontation, but numerous enough to monopolize the resource. The jay's calls have attracted the attention of a crow, whose presence significantly increases the predation risk for any small mammal in the area. The retreat is strategic rather than panicked. You move to a position that maintains visual contact with the feeding site while providing multiple escape routes. If the competitors move on quickly, you might be able to return for a second round of foraging. If predators arrive, you'll have advance warning and multiple options for escape. The leaf blower moves on, leaving behind a transformed landscape. The neat piles of debris represent a complete reorganization of your territory's geography. Some of your cached food is now more exposed, some is more concealed. Some travel routes are now more dangerous, others are safer. The net effect is neither purely positive nor purely negative, just different. Different in your world means dangerous until proven otherwise. Change disrupts the carefully learned patterns that keep you alive. A familiar hiding spot that's now exposed could be a death trap. A travel route that's now more concealed could hide new ambush sites. Every alteration to your environment must be thoroughly investigated, mapped, and integrated into your survival strategy. This investigation process will consume significant time and energy over the next several days. You'll need to test each modified area, assess its new risk profile, and update your mental map accordingly. Some changes will prove beneficial, others will require workarounds or complete avoidance. The cognitive load of this adaptation is enormous, but it's the price of survival in a world where humans regularly reshape the environment. The afternoon light begins to shift, signaling the approach of evening. Your body responds to this change with subtle adjustments to hormone levels, preparing for the different challenges that come with dusk. Night brings different predators, different opportunities, different survival requirements. Your day is far from over, but it's entering a new phase. The protein from the grubs has stabilized your energy levels, but your carbohydrate reserves need replenishment. The morning's acorn consumption was hours ago, and your hyperactive metabolism has burned through most of those calories. You need to locate and consume more stored food, but the leaf blower's disruption has made some cache sites inaccessible and others questionable. Your first choice is a cache located in the hollow of an old birch tree, well above the ground and unaffected by the debris redistribution. The site is secure, the access route is familiar, and the stored food should be in perfect condition. It represents the kind of reliable resource that makes survival possible in an unpredictable world. The climb to the cache is routine. Your claws finding purchase on bark patterns you've memorized through countless repetitions. The hollow is exactly as you left it, containing 3 acorns and a small collection of sunflower seeds. The food is fresh, undamaged, perfectly preserved by the dry conditions inside the tree cavity. You consume 1 acorn immediately, your powerful jaw muscles cracking the tough shell with practiced efficiency. The rich, starchy interior provides exactly the kind of sustained energy your body needs for the evening's activities. The other acorns you leave in place, insurance against future hunger. The sunflower seeds you relocate to a different cache, part of your ongoing strategy to diversify storage locations. This cache management represents one of your most sophisticated survival skills. You're not just storing food, you're managing a complex inventory system that spans multiple locations and food types. Each cache site has different security characteristics, different environmental conditions, different accessibility requirements. Optimizing this system requires planning abilities that would challenge human logistics experts. The work is interrupted by a sound that makes your blood freeze. The distinctive scream of a red-tailed hawk, close enough to be an immediate threat. Your head snaps up, eyes scanning the sky for the source of the call. Hawks are visual hunters, relying on movement to detect prey, but they're also intelligent enough to associate certain locations with feeding opportunities. The hawk's call came from the direction of the oak tree where you've been caching acorns. If it's learned to associate that area with squirrel activity, your carefully chosen storage sites could become death traps. The mathematics of survival suddenly shift. forcing you to recalculate the risk-benefit analysis of every cached resource in that area. You freeze in place, using the birch tree's trunk as concealment while you assess the threat. Movement at this point would be suicide. Hawks have vision that's 8 times sharper than human sight, capable of detecting the twitch of a tail from hundreds of yards away. Your survival depends on becoming invisible, on turning your body into just another piece of bark and shadow. The hawk's call comes again, closer this time. Through the canopy, you catch a glimpse of movement, the distinctive silhouette of a raptor circling overhead. It's hunting, not just passing through, which means it's detected prey somewhere in the area. That prey could be you, or it could be another squirrel, or it could be any of the dozens of small mammals that share your territory. The waiting game begins. Hawks are patient hunters, willing to circle for hours if necessary to secure a kill. Your patience must match theirs, even though every minute spent motionless is a minute not spent foraging, caching, or defending your territory. It's another cruel equation in the mathematics of survival. Another situation where the safe choice is also the expensive choice. Your body begins to cramp from the enforced stillness, but you don't dare adjust your position. The hawk's vision is motion sensitive, capable of detecting the slightest movement against the static background of leaves and bark. A single twitch could transform you from invisible refugee to visible target in an instant. The psychological pressure of enforced immobility is enormous. Every instinct screams at you to move, to flee, to take some kind of action. But experience has taught you that patience is often the difference between life and death. The squirrels who survive are not necessarily the fastest or the strongest, but the ones who know when to move and when to wait. 20 minutes pass before the hawk's calls begin to fade. The raptor is moving away, either having found prey elsewhere or having given up on this particular hunting ground. But you don't move immediately. Hawks are intelligent enough to use false retreats, appearing to leave an area only to return when prey animals emerge from hiding. You wait another 10 minutes before allowing yourself to shift position slightly. The cramped muscles in your legs and back protest, but the relief of movement is worth the discomfort. Your tail, which has been held motionless for over half an hour, flicks once to restore circulation. The small movement feels like a celebration of survival. The hawk encounter has consumed significant time and energy, but it's also provided valuable intelligence about predator activity in your territory. The raptor's hunting pattern suggests it's familiar with the area, possibly a resident rather than a passing migrant. This information will influence your movement patterns and foraging decisions for days to come. The afternoon is advancing toward evening, and your body is beginning to prepare for the transition to night. Your circadian rhythms, synchronized to the changing light levels, trigger subtle shifts in hormone production and neural activity. Night brings different challenges, different opportunities, different survival requirements. But before night falls, you have one more critical task to complete. The day's disruptions have created vulnerabilities in your territorial defenses that must be addressed. Cache sites need to be secured, boundaries need to be reinforced, and potential threats need to be assessed. The work of survival never ends. It just changes form as conditions change. The sun continues its descent toward the horizon, painting the forest in shades of gold and amber. Your territory, disrupted by human activity and threatened by predators, still represents the foundation of your survival. Every tree, every hiding spot, every escape route has been earned through vigilance and defended through courage. As the light fades, you prepare for the next phase of your existence. Night in the forest brings new challenges, new opportunities, new tests of your ability to survive in a world where every decision could be your last. But you've survived this day, and that survival has made you stronger, smarter, more prepared for whatever comes next. The complex dance of predator and prey, territory and survival continues as it has for millions of years. You are part of that dance, a small but vital participant in the endless story of life in the forest. The night is coming, and with it will come new chapters in your ongoing struggle to exist as a squirrel, in a world that offers no guarantees except the certainty of challenge. The transition from day to night doesn't happen gradually in your world. It arrives like a switch being flipped, transforming your entire reality in the space of minutes. The familiar sounds of daytime fade into silence, replaced by the whispers and rustlings that define the nocturnal forest. Your eyes, already adapted for low light conditions, dilate further as the last traces of sunlight disappear behind the canopy. This is when your territory becomes truly dangerous. The predators that hunt in darkness are different from those that stalk in daylight. Owls move with silent wings, their approach masked by the very air currents that carry their scent. Raccoons emerge from their dens, intelligent and opportunistic, capable of raiding your caches with methodical precision. Even domestic cats become more formidable in darkness, their night vision turning them into efficient killing machines. Your response to these threats is to become a creature of shadow yourself. Your movements change from the quick, visible darts of daylight to the careful, silent glides of night navigation. Every step is tested before weight is committed. Every pause is extended to allow your senses to map the darkness around you. You become part of the night, invisible to all but the most skilled hunters. The temperature drops as darkness deepens, and your body responds with subtle adjustments that will keep you warm, without burning precious calories. Your fur fluffs slightly, creating insulating air pockets. Your circulation redirects blood flow to prioritize vital organs. Your metabolism shifts to a more efficient mode, squeezing maximum energy from every stored calorie. But cold isn't your primary concern. Hunger is. The day's activities have depleted your energy reserves, and your hyperactive metabolism demands constant refueling. In darkness, foraging becomes a calculated risk. Every cache site you visit could be monitored by predators. Every movement could attract attention from hunters you can't see. Your first destination is a cache located in the base of an ancient pine tree, chosen specifically for its accessibility in low light conditions. The route is familiar, memorized through countless repetitions, but familiarity breeds complacency, and complacency in your world is fatal. You move with the same careful attention you'd use in completely unknown territory. The cache is undisturbed, containing 2 acorns and a small collection of pine nuts. The food represents hours of previous foraging, stored against exactly this kind of need. You consume 1 acorn immediately, the calories flooding your system with warmth and energy. The other foods you leave in place, insurance against deeper hunger later in the night. A sound freezes you mid-chew, the soft woof of air through feathers, almost inaudible but unmistakable to ears trained for survival. An owl is hunting nearby, its silent flight carrying it through the darkness with deadly precision. Your heart rate spikes as adrenaline floods your system, preparing your body for the explosive movement that might be necessary in the next few seconds. The owl's call comes from above and to your left, a low hoot that serves as both territorial marker and hunting announcement. Owls are patient predators, willing to wait for prey to reveal itself through movement or sound. Your survival depends on becoming part of the landscape, on turning your body into just another shadow among shadows. Though waiting is agony, every muscle in your body screams for action, for movement, for the release of pent-up energy, but you remain motionless, your breathing shallow and controlled, your heart hammering against your ribs with enough force to shake your entire body. The owl's presence has transformed your territory into a hunting ground, where you are the prey. Minutes pass like hours. The owl calls again, farther away this time, but distance in the darkness is deceptive. Sound travels differently at night, bouncing off trees and rocks in ways that can mask a predator's true location. You don't dare move until you're certain the threat has passed, and certainty in your world is a luxury that can cost lives. When you finally allow yourself to shift position, the relief is overwhelming. Your cramped muscles protest as circulation returns, but the discomfort is a small price to pay for survival. The owl's calls continue to fade, suggesting it has moved on to hunt in a different part of the forest. but you know it will return, and next time you might not be so fortunate. The encounter has changed your night's priorities. The territory that felt secure in daylight now feels exposed and dangerous. Your carefully planned foraging routes must be reconsidered, your cache sites reevaluated, your entire survival strategy adjusted for the new threat profile that darkness brings. You decide to return to your dray, the carefully constructed nest that represents your only truly safe space in a world full of dangers. The journey home is a masterclass in stealth navigation, every movement calculated to avoid detection. You use the darkest shadows, the quietest surfaces, the most concealed routes available. The dray welcomes you with its familiar warmth and security. The walls of woven twigs and leaves provide both physical protection and psychological comfort. Here, surrounded by your own scent and the materials you've chosen, you can finally allow your guard to drop slightly, but only slightly. Even in your nest, you remain alert to the sounds of the night. Your body begins to shut down for sleep. But squirrel sleep is different from human rest. You don't lose consciousness completely. Part of your mind remains alert, processing the sounds and vibrations that filter through the dray's walls. A footstep that doesn't belong to any known animal. A branch movement that suggests something large is climbing. A scent that carries the signature of a predator. This partial awareness is exhausting, but it's also essential. The squirrels who sleep too deeply don't wake up at all. Your ancestors who couldn't maintain vigilance during rest didn't survive to reproduce. You exist because millions of years of evolution have equipped you with the ability to rest without becoming completely vulnerable. The night passes in cycles of light sleep and sharp alertness. Each unusual sound brings you to full wakefulness, every sense straining to identify potential threats. The owl calls periodically, reminding you that death hunts in the darkness. A raccoon passes beneath your tree, its chittering calls marking its passage through your territory. Somewhere in the distance, a fox barks, the sound carrying across the forest like a wild proclamation. But you survive the night, as you've survived countless nights before. When the first gray light of dawn begins to filter through the canopy, you're still alive, still alert, still ready to face whatever challenges the new day will bring. The simple fact of survival is its own victory, proof that you've successfully navigated another cycle in the endless dance of predator and prey. The morning light reveals a world transformed by darkness. Dew covers everything in a sparkling film that will make movement noisy and visibility poor. The scent trails you rely on for navigation have been washed clean by moisture. The familiar landmarks of your territory are obscured by mist and shadow. You must begin each day by relearning your world, updating your mental maps, recalibrating your survival strategies. Your body emerges from the dray with the careful movements of a creature that knows danger is always present. Every muscle is tested before being trusted. Every sense is calibrated before being relied upon. You are a living weapon, honed by evolution and sharpened by experience, ready to face whatever challenges await. The hunger that drove you to your caches the night before has returned with the dawn. Your metabolism, slowed during the night's rest, is now demanding fuel for the day's activities. But morning foraging brings its own risks. The dew-covered ground will muffle your footsteps, but also those of your predators. The misty air will carry scents differently, making your nose less reliable for threat detection. You begin your descent from the dray with the methodical precision of a military operation. Every handhold is tested, every branch examined for stability. The tree that provides your security also represents your greatest vulnerability. If predators learn to associate this tree with your presence, your sanctuary becomes a trap. The ground feels different beneath your feet this morning. The dew has made surfaces slippery, requiring adjustments to your movement patterns. Your claws find less purchase on wet bark, forcing you to rely more heavily on your balance and agility. These small changes in environmental conditions can mean the difference between successful foraging and becoming someone else's breakfast. Your first cache site of the day is located beneath a cluster of ferns, chosen for its concealment and protection from weather. The site is undisturbed, containing 3 acorns and a small collection of hickory nuts. The food represents security, calories stored against uncertainty, proof that your survival strategy is working. But as you approach the cache, something feels wrong. The ferns are positioned differently, their fronds bent in ways that suggest recent disturbance. The soil around the hiding spot shows subtle signs of excavation, too systematic to be natural but too careful to be the work of most animals. Another squirrel has been here, investigating your storage site. The discovery sends a chill through your system that has nothing to do with the morning temperature. A competitor who can locate your caches represents a threat to your very survival. The food you've worked so hard to store, the insurance policies you've created against future hunger, are all at risk if another squirrel has learned to read your hiding patterns. You examine the site with the intensity of a detective investigating a crime scene. The disturbance is recent, probably from the night before. The intruder was careful, professional, suggesting an experienced adult rather than a bumbling juvenile. Most disturbing of all, the cache itself hasn't been raided. The other squirrel was gathering intelligence, not stealing food. This represents a level of strategic thinking that transforms the threat from simple competition to something approaching warfare. An opponent who scouts your resources without immediately exploiting them is an opponent who's planning a coordinated assault on your territory. The implications are staggering and terrifying. Your response must be immediate and decisive. You cannot allow this intelligence gathering to continue unchallenged, but direct confrontation carries its own risks. A territorial dispute could attract predators, waste precious energy, and result in injuries that would compromise your survival. The solution requires subtlety, misdirection, and careful planning. You begin by altering your caching patterns, moving stored food to new locations, and abandoning sites that might have been compromised. Each relocation is time-consuming and energy-intensive, but the alternative is losing your entire food security network. The work is methodical, urgent, and exhausting. The sun climbs higher, burning away the morning mist and revealing the full scope of your territory. The familiar landscape looks different now, colored by the knowledge that you're being watched, studied, prepared for assault. Every tree could hide an observer, every shadow could conceal a threat. Your world has become a battlefield where intelligence is as important as physical prowess. But you've survived challenges before, and you'll survive this one. Your ancestors faced predators, competitors, environmental disasters, and human interference. They endured because they were adaptable, intelligent, and utterly committed to survival. Those same qualities flow through your veins, encoded in your DNA, expressed in every decision you make. The morning advances, and with it comes the endless cycle of foraging, catching, defending, and surviving that defines your existence. You are a squirrel, a creature perfectly adapted to this life of constant challenge and perpetual vigilance. Your world offers no guarantees except the certainty that each day will test your will to live, and you will meet that test as you've met every test before. Because in the end, survival is not about being the strongest or the fastest or the most aggressive. It's about being the most adaptable, the most intelligent, the most determined to see another dawn. You are all of these things, and you are alive, and that is enough. The forest watches and waits, indifferent to your struggles but shaped by your presence. You are part of its story, a small but vital thread in the vast tapestry of life that has been weaving itself for millions of years. Your survival matters, not because you are special, but because you are life itself, persistent and precious and utterly irreplaceable. Tomorrow will bring new challenges, new threats, new opportunities to prove your worth. But today, you are here, alive and alert and ready for whatever comes next. In the simple mathematics of existence, that is the only equation that truly matters. You are, and therefore you will continue to be, until the day you cannot. And on that day, if it ever comes, you will have lived as fully as any creature ever has, in the intense, immediate, utterly authentic way that only a squirrel can understand.